Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Pits of Motor Chaos. This is your host, Dave. I got a special guest, driver of the Fuelish Intentions, Fuel Altered, Jim Hidy. How you doing, Jim?
Good. How about yourself?
Pretty good. Weather's kind of cloudy out here right now in Illinois, but otherwise it's not too cold, it's not too hot, it's beautiful.
Yeah, this is a good time of year for racing. It's not terribly hot, not real cool. It's my favorite time of year to race, actually.
So now, Jim, let's turn back the clock here, and I'm going to ask you, how did you get into drag racing, and what year did you start drag racing?
Well, I got started in drag racing the simple fact that the winter of 1964-65, my dad built a new B altered. He had an injected small block in a Model A coupe. Finished the car and debuted it 4th of July of 1965. Well, in between the winter and 4th of July, I was born in March. So at ripe old age of 4 months old, I started going to the drag strip. Didn't know anything else. I bought my first race car, which was a front engine dragster, when I was 19. So it's pretty much been a lifetime of it.
Now, the front engine dragster, did you run on alcohol or nitro?
That first car was a carbureted gas engine that we ran for a year and a half. Then stepped up, built an injected big block rear engine car. Went from that into a blown alcohol Hemi and an altered. Went from that into a top alcohol dragster, and actually walked away from racing for several years. Got back into it a few years ago and put a blown Hemi and a blown alcohol motor in a front engine car, and then from that into one of Vermont's old alcohol funny car chassis. Ran it on alcohol, and then last year we made the change and converted everything over to a nitro combination. So it's been an interesting experience, but all of our stuff's always been open wheel cars. So I like the lightweight, fast, purpose-built race car stuff.
So how much percentage of nitro are you running on that?
We run 85%.
Now, what's been the quickest ET you've had with that car?
We've not went terribly quick. I think we ran a 420 something with it, but I guess with the idea that we ran blown alcohol stuff, our first venture into a nitro car, and kind of struggling through making horsepower and getting a clutch combination tune up that was happy and making full pulls down the track. Just haven't got there yet. We keep getting closer. We go out and test and play around and try different things. And at this point, I can tell you 1,000 things that don't work. I just haven't found the perfect combination yet.
Well, the cars really, the look of the car is awesome. I love that.
Well, our intent was when we built that car was build something. It's a fuel altered. If you're going to run a fuel altered, it's going to be wild and flashy and make your eyes blow out of your head. And the body design itself is different than anybody else has ever ran. The fact that it's bright metallic, I call it bass boat green metallic, gel coat with some really wild graphics on it, and I gotta give a shout out to a buddy of mine that's done the graphics for the car. He's a professional artist, and he started seeing pictures of the body design and said, "Hey, I want to do some really cool graphics." And I'm like, "Cool, go ahead." And he's like, "Well, what do you want to do?" I said, "Well, you're the artist." So I think Scott knocked it out of the park on that. I mean, it fits the car perfect. It's wild. It's crazy. It's I one of the crew guys came up with the Fuelish Intentions name to put on the car, and I love the combination. I'm very happy with the combination of what we came up with. So performance is coming around. You know, we get the performance tied to where it ought to be, and this thing, I think, in my mind, is going to be a home run.
So how many events have you ran this year?
I think we've actually ran 4 events. We went out and we've done a couple of match race events. We went to the Fuel Altered Nationals a few weeks ago, and last weekend we run with a circuit here in the Midwest called Midwest Pro Outlaw. It's a 4.0 index class, so we were at an event at Mocan last weekend with them. So it's our last scheduled race of the year, but we think we've found the right combination or know what's going to be maybe the right combination on the clutch tune-up. So we're going to go out and test here again in a week or two, and see if we can put that thing in the 3s before we put it away for the year.
Now, if you don't get it in the 3s, are you going to be like working on it all winter long?
Yeah, if we don't get it in the 3s, we may extend. Say, well, we're going to do it one more time. But I think we're close. We're engine happy. It seems to be making good power. The engine's not hurting itself. We just have to get the rest of the drivetrain happy and get it onto the ground. But I think we're close.
So now, Jim, after all these years of drag racing, what still keeps you passionate about drag racing?
Oh, I don't know. It's addictive. I tell people I'd be a horrible drug addict because the drag racing bug bit me hard, and it's never let go. And we've I guess to tell you, we've progressed our way into where we're running a true fuel altered. Tells you how serious the addiction is for me, that I just can't imagine doing anything else. You know, I'm a 3rd generation racer. My grandfather started racing in 1948, and it's something that is just part of our family.
So now, when you first started drag racing, was there anybody that was inspirational to you out there drag racing?
Well, first and foremost was my dad. I mean, it was cool growing up with my dad running an altered. And then, I was lucky. I was one of those children that grew up with the Mongoose and Snake Hot Wheels sets, and in Don Garland, and that was just it. There was occasionally you could watch the drag races on TV and see those guys, and at that time in the Midwest, those guys would occasionally come through and get close to home on a match race tour where we could go to the track and see them, but not a lot of stuff nearby to where.
Yeah.
I've been able to meet those guys and meet some guys that are legends in the sport. It's really cool to get to know those guys on a personal level.
Right. Yeah, my dad started taking me to the track to watch drag racing. I was about 4 or 5, so I'm 51 now. So yeah, it was his fault that I got into watching drag racing.
Yeah, I didn't have a chance. At 4 months old, there was already a race car in the garage when I was born, and being around the sights and sounds and smells. Just never get away from and stay away from. So it's just part of my life.
Yep. You were smelling that nitro at a young age.
Yeah, it's you get addicted to that stuff easy, and And I had a guy tell me when we were putting the nitro combination together to put in this car, he said, you'll get to a point where once you run a nitro car, it may consume every bit of money you can to get the car on the track. And people say, if you step back to a blown alcohol car, you could afford to race more often. And you'll say, no thanks. If I got to pick up pop cans to race once or twice a year with a nitro car, I'll keep picking up pop cans. And I understand it now. To me, once you've driven a nitro car, it's just you can't imagine going backwards and doing something different.
So now, Jim, what was the experience like for the first time driving a nitro car?
It's shocking. We're in a top alcohol dragster back in the '90s, and the cars leave pretty similar, but the nitro car just pulls like it does off the starting line, clear to the finish line. The alcohol car runs out there a little ways and just kind of tapers off to where it's still accelerating, but not near the force that it was. When a nitro car just doesn't ever not pull. It's pulling as hard at the finish line as it is the starting line. So I guess that's where the real intensity of it comes in for me in the second half of the track. It's wanting to accelerate it every bit as hard as it was at the beginning.
Now, how many gallons of fuel pump you have in it?
We've got a 35-gallon pump on the car.
So you want to throw out some big header flames?
Yeah, we've got a big inch motor. We've got a 500-inch motor, so we've got a 1471 blower on it. We've got a little more clutch than some of the guys run. We're wanting to run some bigger numbers with it. So just figured we might as well put good stuff on it when we're building it. That way we don't have to upgrade down the road.
Yep. So now, when you used to drive the alcohol cars, how was your success? You had pretty good success with alcohol cars?
Yeah, we didn't run NHRA with it much. We ran the UDRA circuit, if you remember when UDRA was around.
Yeah.
A lot of upper Midwest stuff. And, I ran at a time where we were competing against DJ Zizzo and Marty Thacker, and Hal Canode was Hal drove the first year or two. We ran UDRA, and then brought a partner in and started driving the car, and we ran with David Weber and his sons out of Ohio, and there's some pretty hard hitters in the UDRA circuit at that time in the alcohol class.
So now, when you take the fuel altered out, how many crew members do you take out with you?
We've typically got 3 or 4 guys that travel with us. It's I drive the car. My dad's crew chief. I've got one brother. He goes with us. He works his butt off on that car. And we've got 3 lifelong friends of mine and the families that are on the crew. I'm pretty selective over who gets to go to the track with us, just because at the time they buckle me in that car, I'm putting my life in their hands. So it's got to be somebody that I trust and have complete confidence in, or I don't want them around the car.
Now, do you have any sponsors for that car?
Yeah, we've been lucky enough. We've got Pan Grade Oil, the parent company of, DA Lubricants is a parent company, but Pan Grade's the old green Kendall motor oil. They've been with us for years. I've got DJ Safety Equipment, McKee RV out of Perry, Iowa, large RV dealership there in Iowa. got Distracted Ideas, which is the art studio that does all of our marketing stuff for us. Padre Signs and Graphics does all of our vinyl lettering stuff for us. Right, we're trying to remember everybody that got a lot of help on the card. It just takes a ton of help. I mean, nitro cars aren't cheap to operate, maintain, or keep going to the track with. So it takes a lot of help. Like Cavalry Racing Equipment, John Gunn and Gunn Body. Gunn and Gunn Racing's the one that designed the body for us and built it for us. We buy a lot of parts from John, so it takes a network. It takes a community of friends and people and relationships that you have. So we're very fortunate to have the people around us that we do to help us do what we're doing.
Then I'm sure you're always looking for new sponsors to climb on board if they're available.
Yeah, there's always room for money to spend in the car. So anybody that comes along that wants their name attached to a fuel altered, likes making noise and going fast and having a good time, I always looking for additional sponsors and more help, and we pride ourselves. We always put on a show for the fans. We understand the idea that we go to the track that even what's struggling to get A to B passes, the car gets a ton of attention. I love doing burnouts, so the crowd always gets a good healthy burnout out of me, and as we get the car sorted in, it'll go quicker down the track, but it's about putting on a show for the fans. So I enjoy that part of it.
Yeah, they love the long smoky burnouts.
Yep, and that's to me that's kind of the definition of a fuel altered. It's supposed to header flames and long smoky burnouts and a lot of noise.
Like with the big show, you get the big header flames, but you don't get the long smoky burnouts.
No, crew chiefs have stepped in and they've abbreviated the burnouts to control clutch wear and clutch heat and fuel consumption and weight off the nose of the car and everything else. So, I understand why they're doing it. It takes away from some of the sexiness from the grandstand.
Yeah. So now, when you're out on the track, Jim, do you have any pre-race rituals or superstitions at all?
No, I guess I would tell you that a guy that'll build a green race car doesn't have any superstitions. For years that was a taboo idea was to have a green race car, but I figured that as a racer, anything else, you kind of create your own luck. So I'm not worried about that. A pre-race ritual is just a routine of making sure everything's right. Crew guys coming in, checking me, making sure that belts are tight and unbuckled in good, looking things over. And but as far as anything that don't carry a rabbit's foot with me, and if we don't do a certain thing that other than making sure the car's prepped and everything's ready to go, I'm not in the car freaking out because I didn't get to do some certain ritual thing. So it's just about paying attention to what's going on with the car and paying attention to what's going on around us, and just kind of having that routine of getting to the line, having your stuff ready, getting your stuff done, being timely, just the details. That's the only thing I worry about.
Now, what kind of preparation goes into getting that fuel altered ready for a weekend of drag racing?
We come back from a weekend, it goes in the shop, goes on jacks, transmission comes out, take the transmission apart, check, make sure everything's happy inside it, tear the clutch apart, fix all the discs.
Now, is the preparation for the
Metal bearing.
nitro car a lot more work than the alcohol?
Oh yeah, yeah. There's a lot more prep work, and you're concerned a lot more, paying attention to the engine to make sure that it's not hurt. It's a lot easier to pinch a ring land or scuff a piston skirt or something. So it you look it over a lot more. It's going to hurt itself quicker. Also, it's more sensitive if things aren't 100% happy. So you spend a lot of time doing maintenance and looking it over to make sure that you're not going to go out and have some catastrophe happen because you haven't looked it over good.
So, what are some of your favorite tracks to run on, Jim?
I always had a lot of fun. I really like the track at Martin, Michigan. Union Grove, Wisconsin's fun. The old school tracks. The crew always enjoyed going to tracks that the return road came up between the track and the grandstands, just because that's the one time that the crew really has a chance to hear and see the appreciation that the fans have for the car. The rest of the time they're either in the pits with their heads down working on the car, or we're out on the track with it, and we're focused on our routine of burnout and getting the car staged and everything else. And at that point, the you have no idea if there's 100 people in grandstands or 100,000 people in grandstands.
Right.
You have to tune that stuff out. So the old school tracks with the return road out front, it's cool. There's nothing quite like running on those where when you tow back up after a pass, that you get to hear the crowd cheer and holler. It's fun.
Yeah, I just did an interview the other night with one of the guys that drives the gasser. He was just talking about how Great Lakes Dragway, how the return road goes past the fans. He said he loved that too.
Yeah, it's different. I mean, it's something that a lot of the tracks, as they've been rebuilt over the years or widened or something, they seem to give up that return road in front of the grandstands, and I wish more of them would go back to it. It's just, for one thing, it's nice you get out of the traffic pattern of the pit area, and you're not fighting as much traffic to get back. Plus, just the nostalgia, the cool feature of return road back up front. It gives the fans a better chance to see the car in person. It's going slow. It's right in front of them. They can look at it and check things over. And like I said before, it's the feedback to the crew for all their hard work, and getting to see that is fun.
Yeah, you get to wave at everybody.
Yeah. Again, I think it's you and I are pretty close to the same age. It's back to that. You think of what drag racing was when we were kids, looking at it and admiring it and dreaming of getting to do that someday. That's how it was. I mean, that was pretty standard at that time. So I guess to me it just seems more right, because that's what I envision when I think about it, and that's what I dreamed of as a kid, was looking at that idea of that's what I want to do someday.
Yeah, that Great Lakes Dragway was one of the tracks my dad would take me to when I was a kid, and then US 30 drag strip, the one that closed down in Indiana.
Yep.
Yep, so I got to see the same thing you saw. Snake and Mongoose and all them, Chi-Town Hustler and everybody, Don Garlett, Chris the Greek, all them good drivers.
Yeah, and I told you before, I raced alcohol dragster against Marty Thacker, and he kicked a lot of butt in Division III alcohol dragster at national level stuff. And of course, anybody listening probably knows TJ Zizzo and what they're doing in Top Fuel, and Hal Canode's been a big force in the alcohol cars and chassis building for years, and Dave Weber and his boys ran really hard. You know, you get to know those guys. Ron Colson wasn't driving anymore, but he was on the board of directors and helped the operations side of UDRA. And Scott Gardner, that was president of IHRA, he and his brother run a pro stock car, and he was a part of the director program of UDRA. And you know, you get to know those people as racers, not just knowing their name, but you know them personally. It's a lot different ball game.
So how long has it been since you've been in Union Grove?
Honestly, the last time we were at Union Grove would have been like probably 1999. So we get this car sorted out. We'll have to see if we can get up there and
yeah, I was just gonna say
races or something.
I was just gonna say we need to get you back over there.
Yeah, I'd love to. That track was always a lot of fun.
Yeah.
The biggest problem was if you grew up and going to the Union Grove, UDRA booked us in there one weekend, and here it is, Sunday afternoon. We're racing Sunday afternoon and Sunday night, and there's no crowd around. And I was asking one of the few people that was there, I said, "Hey, where's everybody at?" They said, "Oh, they're home." I said, "Well, what's the deal? There's usually a big crowd here." And he said, "Well, today there's a Bears and Packers game going on." I go, "Great, you know, there's anybody in the Union Grove area is going to be at home watching one of those two teams play football."
Yeah. Yeah, that's always the big rivalry. Yeah, but the Grove, that's the Grove's like my local track. I'm like 30 minutes from the Grove, so that's like my local track.
Yeah, the Grove's a lot of fun. I mean, it's just one of those cool old tracks. It's got a lot of history to it, and it's fun to run on. And yeah, I'd go back up. You know, of course, when we were running, Broadway Bob was up there. So
yeah, that was he was one of a kind for sure. To never be another Broadway.
Nope. But the drag racing sure could use another Broadway Bob. I mean, he understood marketing and how to make a show.
Now, you have a greatest memory of Broadway Bob that you can talk about?
I don't know. I think you just have to. Personally, I can't envision Broadway Bob and not think about him sitting on the nose of a jet car.
Yeah, with the beer in the hand.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's if you wanted to describe Broadway Bob in one photograph, I think that would have to be the one.
And with those crazy sunglasses too.
Yeah. I guess, you know, anytime I think of him, that's how I picture him.
Yeah.
I mean, it was such a statement of his personality and his style, and that's sitting on the front end of a jet car with a beer in his hand.
Yep. Yeah, everybody loved Broadway.
Well, he understood the sport and the idea that it's a show. Yeah, drag racing is competition, but the fans and the grandstands want to see a show. So they want header flames, they want tire smoke, they want lots of noise, and it's excitement. You know, it's kind of like from the driver's seat. You know, it's why we build cars to go faster. It's excitement. If I could get the same excitement in a small block powered front engine car as I could a nitro car, I'd still be doing that because it's a lot cheaper. It's not as exciting. So therefore, I spend more money and a lot more time running a nitro car so that I get that rush of all the sensory excitement that it gives you.
Yeah, we definitely need more nitro at the Grove because they have the big shows are Memorial Day weekend and Labor Day weekend. We usually only get two nitro front engine dragsters, and we used to get two nitro, nostalgia funny cars with Doc Holliday and Baz Young, but Baz moved back to Australia, so now all we got is Doc Holliday. So.
Well, maybe we get a deal going where we could come up and
Match with Doc Holliday,
do do a match race with Doc or something. That'd be fun.
Yeah, because he just ran this past Labor Day weekend. He ran single passes all weekend.
Yeah, sounds like we need to reach out to the track and see if they'd want to have us, because I'd love to get to come back to the Grove.
Yeah, and especially go against legend like Doc Holliday and the Telstar. That'd be even great time.
Yeah, it would. It would definitely be a highlight. Again, watching Doc Holliday race for all the years. To line up next to him would definitely be an honor.
Now, do you only run quarter mile, or do you do any eighth mile racing?
Actually, we run more eighth mile stuff than we do quarter mile.
What do you prefer?
I enjoy the eighth mile stuff. There's a lot of excitement there. It's, you get the same adrenaline rush of burnout in the first half of the track, pulling hard, and as a driver, you get a lot of that, and it's a lot easier on parts. You don't have the engine hanging out there that extra 660 feet. So, yeah, if I could only do one or the other, I'd probably choose to do eighth mile stuff. It's all the excitement and easier on the pocketbook.
Now, have you ever thought about getting a funny car body and trying to run funny car chaos?
Yeah, we've got a funny car body, and we probably will get the clutch sorted out where the car's making strong, consistent passes. I'd definitely go run with Chris on that funny car chaos deal. We went to Havana, Central Illinois Dragway this fall and late in the summer, and match race Chuck Baird with his front engine car during the chaos event. But yeah, that chaos, Chris knows how to put on a show. That funny car chaos programs ran well and draws in some nice cars, and the fans seem to really enjoy it. That's pretty obvious. He pulls in a lot of spectators for that deal, and that's what it takes to me to make a successful weekend. Is you got to have people in the grandstands, or it's a little more challenging to continue to do those things. And Chris is doing it right.
Yeah, they're out in Martin, Michigan this weekend.
Yeah, and Martin's a fun track. It's a nice track, well operated. I like the pit area, so I'd go back to Martin if we had the opportunity, or if we get the car sorted out and get a funny car body hanging on. I'd make the tow to Martin to run the chaos with Chris. That wouldn't be any concern.
And then Chris, he keeps the general admission at $20, so that's another reason people come out. It's very reasonable to get in. Yeah,
it's an affordable, fun night. You get to see a lot of wild racing, some really nice cars, and there's some really good people running that chaos program. There's some great racers, and you see Nancy Matter in her car with Dale Poldy, crew chief, and it there's another name of somebody that I grew up watching race, and I thought his American Eagle car was one of the prettiest funny cars there was.
You mean the War Eagle?
The War Eagle, yeah. I don't know why I said American Eagle. Yeah, the War Eagle deal. It was just a gorgeous car.
Yeah. So now, where do you get all your fire safety equipment from, Jim?
I get all of my stuff from Big Ben out at DJ Safety. I mean, Ben takes good care of us. He builds a really good equipment. Don't worry about it. You know, it's easy to call Ben and tell him what I need, and know that he's going to have it. And he's going to take care of me. It's going to be right when I get it. So I do a lot of work with Ben and appreciate everything he does for us. And again, you strap yourself into a nitro car. You don't want to make sure you have good equipment. You want to know you have good equipment.
Right.
So
now, throughout your drag racing career, what milestones have you reached so far?
I guess I don't have any massive career victories. We won the Pro Challenge at Cordova the spring of 98 or 99. We won that event on the quickest and fastest member of the 4-second club at Eddyville Dragway. But no huge milestones as far as event wins. But I would tell you that I've met and made friends with some fantastic people in the racing community, and to me, that's every bit as meaningful as stacking off a bunch of career event wins.
Yeah. So now, throughout your whole drag racing career, have you had any accidents or close calls?
I jumped when we built that front engine dragster a few years ago, that blown hemi, I broke a connecting rod about 400 feet into the run and missed the right rear tire and turned the car into the guardrail about 140 miles an hour and junked the chassis. So, yeah, I've wrecked it. I've had the chutes not come out a couple times, ran off the end of the track. So we've had some ugly stuff, but it's part of climbing in the driver's seat. It's going to happen if you race enough. Stuff like that's going to happen. You just put it back together and keep going.
Well, knock on wood, you're not going to have no accidents with the nitro car.
Well, we're hoping we don't have anything like that, but it's the potential's there. You just do everything you can to minimize it, and common sense. Be careful. Be alert. Know when to let off the throttle and reel it in and take it back to the trailer and save it for another day.
All right, now I'm going to ask you a few fun questions here before we close out. Are you ready?
Sure.
Outside of drag racing, do you have any other hobbies?
Not really. I'm a through and through car guy. So I've got a high rod project that I've worked on for probably I've probably had it apart for 25 years or better, that I slowly gather parts for, that one of these days I'll find the time and the extra money to get back to it and put it back together. But it's a 1948 International pickup that my dad drag raced as a kid. He had it after the be altered. He had an injected small block in it. It was my high school shop project to put it back together, and I put it on the street. And I've since chopped the top on it and full tube chassis and built a blown alcohol 438 cubic inch small block for it, and plan on it still being streetable. But the pieces sit there, just time and the extra resources to get back to it. But one of these days I will. It'll be fun when I get it done.
So you don't do no hunting or fishing or anything like that?
Nope. Didn't grow up around. I mean, with my dad drag racing, weekends that's what you done, and the end of the season that you went to the garage and worked on the car. So didn't grow up around it. It's kind of like sports. I wasn't exposed to it. Didn't have any interest in it. It was cars and hot rods.
Now, Jim, if you were able to do time traveling and go back in time, would you do anything differently with your drag racing career?
I probably would. I would probably have pushed harder to get where I am now at a younger age. I would tell a younger version of myself that it's attainable. That you can do it. Just keep working at it and get there, and not let it dangle out there as a dream for so long, but worked more diligently to make it a reality.
Now, have you had one most embarrassing moment on the track in your career that you can think of?
Well, there just isn't anything more embarrassing than running off the end of the track when the parachutes don't come out. I mean, it's regardless of what causes it, just the people in the grandstand see that as driver error. So to me, that's crashing the car. Crashing a dragster. That was obviously an engine failure caused it. I was sore after that, but that was easier for the people in the grandstands, I think, to understand that it was just an accident without anything else. But blasting off the end of the track without any parachutes was the embarrassing thing for me.
So what would you consider to be the fondest memory of your drag racing career?
Fondest memory? I think every weekend that we get to go, my dad's 81 years old, and every weekend that we get to go to the track with my brother, my dad, and lifelong friends is a good weekend. I mean, we enjoy hanging out. The crew, we work our butt off on the car, but the fact that we get to do this together, and my dad's part of it, means a lot, and I'm grateful for that. I appreciate every opportunity we have to do that.
So now, if people are listening to the interview and they want to follow you, see where you're going to be running at, would Hidy Racing page be a good way to follow you on Facebook?
Yep. That's probably the best way to get the updates, see pictures of the car, get information on what we're doing and upcoming events and schedules and stuff. And Hidy Racing on Facebook. And if anybody's got any questions, they can message me through that, and we can answer them. And I've got some really cool shirts. Dan, I don't know if you've seen Dan Hughes' artwork, but he just nails it. For the people that haven't seen our car, I describe it to people as a adult-sized Hot Wheels car. And Dan Hughes done the artwork for our shirts, and he just hit a home run with that. It's a really cool design. So I'll get some pictures of our T-shirts posted on there if anybody's interested in T-shirts. I'll get pictures on there so they can see what they look like.
Awesome. Well, Jim, I want to thank you very much for taking time to do this interview.
Hey, it's a good time. I hope the people out there that have aspirations to do this kind of thing realize that it's possible, it's doable. Just dig in and do it, and don't leave with any regrets. If you want to try it, find out.